Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sprouting Among Stones. This is our 4th episode. And tonight, I am so excited to have a brave young man with us to tell us his story. Most often in our lives, life has its way of throwing a lot of things along our way, but he has braced his journey and he's living life. So today, I'm happy to have with me EKOW. EKOW is going to introduce himself to us, and from there, we will carry on with the interview. But before we start, I would like to make this known that everything that EKOW shares is not for your diagnosis or for any medical purposes. Everything that he's sharing is purely from his personal experiences. So don't look on the things that EKOW is going to share with us and use it for your diagnosis or use it for your journey. If you're experiencing any symptoms, you see your doctor. Everything EKOW is going to say today is purely from his personal experiences. So EKOW, I welcome you to Sprouting Among Stones.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was a short notice and you are such a very busy person. I know you just came back from a trip over the weekend, but here I am with you 6:30 on the dot, even before the time. So thank you so much. Yeah,
no worries.
Accepting the my interview invitation, and then to be a blessing to many people, to hear your story, to inspire, to motivate, and to bring hope to a lot more people out there. So thank you once again.
No worries. I hope that's what I can even do a little bit of. If I can do a little bit of that, that would be good. Yeah.
So EKOW, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is EKOW OTOO. I was born in Ghana, moved to England when I was 7. I'm an actor and a model and a spoken word artist. I really like sports. I like wheelchair racing, even though I'm not training in it right now, but I really have a passion for it. And yeah, I'm just me, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so EKOW, which means you were born to both Ghanaian parents.
Yes, I was. I grew up in Ghana until I was about 6 or 7, and then my parents moved. Well, my mum lived here, worked here as a nurse, and then my dad and my sister and I later joined her when I was about 6, 7. So.
Okay. So EKOW, without giving any specific age, which age bracket do you fall in your late 20s, mid 20s, early 30s? Where do you fall?
I'm on my late 20s. Yeah.
Okay, in your late 20s.
Sometimes okay. I try and lie to myself, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, age is a figure. I do that to myself as well. Sometimes I just look in the mirror and tell myself I'm 16. I'm
definitely.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm just a little bit bigger than I used to be.
Yeah, for me. Yeah. So EKOW, tell me how did you feel before you had your diagnosis? What symptoms did you experience? How did it start?
So, yes, I've even forgot to mention that I'm also, we like to call ourselves MS warriors. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 23 in 2014, I think. And basically, my very first symptoms started when I was about 14. I woke up one morning, went to leave my bed, and my legs wouldn't follow. So I thought, I was 14. I was just like, oh, I probably slept on it strangely, or I was leaning on it too much. So maybe I'll just go back to sleep, wake up, and I'll be fine. And that's exactly what happened. I went back to sleep, woke up, I was fine. But the problem was, I realized when I went to school on the Monday, because this was during the weekend, when I went to school on the Monday, I couldn't run. like I wanted to play. I used to play basketball a lot, and I tried running, and my knees will suddenly start buckling. So I told my parents, and they took me to the GP, and um, the GP basically told me, "Oh, you're experiencing growing pains," because I was about 5'5", 5'6" when I was in year 7. How old is that? 12, 13. And then by the time I was 14, during the summer, I shot up to about 6'1", from 5'6". So they tried telling me that, oh, it's because you grew too tall too quickly. So the muscles in your legs just needs time to adjust and all these things. So, and because they didn't take it so seriously, I didn't take it seriously. I even took it to extremes, and I told myself, oh, I must have forgotten how to run, you know? So I remember there was a period in my life when I was very obsessed with watching people walk and how people walk and how people run, because months later, I started realizing that I used to love walking. And sometimes I walk from my house to my school, and that was about a half an hour, 45-minute walk. And I would just do it just because I like to. But I started finding that when I tried to do it, halfway through the journey, my legs will start feeling weak and shaky, and my knees will buckle. So I really thought that, okay, I've forgotten how to run. I really have forgotten how to walk. So I just need to relearn. I need to reteach myself. So I kept watching people, focusing. Every time someone's walking by, I'll see how they pick their foot up, how they put it down, how they keep their balance. I was really obsessed with it. And even all through uni, no one knew what was wrong. I started finding it, when I was in school, I found it difficult to retain information I read. And my teachers didn't really take it seriously. They didn't, they thought I was being lazy, sort of. And I thought maybe I was being lazy without realizing I was being lazy. I don't know. But by the time I reached university, the way university works is, I did philosophy, and the way the lectures worked, they were quite open. They were open for discussions and new ideas, and so in that situation, I was very good at learning, and I could really understand what was going on. But as soon as I had to write an essay, for example, and I had to do my research, I would find it so difficult to retain the information. I remember there was a situation when I was in a lecture. My lecturer had gotten through describing this theory about being and time, it's called. And he spent the entire hour and a half speaking. And at the end, he says, "So does anyone understand?" And I'm the only one who puts my hands up. So he's like, "Oh, then can you explain?" And I did. I explained what the whole theory was and whatever he was talking about in about 5 minutes. And after the lecture, he took me aside and said to me, "Okay, so you're clearly not stupid. So either you've got a learning disability or you're lazy, because all your essays are not up to scratch." And again, this was because I found it very difficult to even get information from my mind to the page. It was very hard for some reason. So because of this, I ended up getting a dyslexic assessment, found out I'm dyspraxic, which is like another variation of dyslexia, but it has something more to do with coordination and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, when my mom's a nurse, so when she found this out, she said, no, there's definitely a connection between your legs and this. So she had me see neurologists. I did numerous tests. Some of them were very invasive, and I received a letter. I remember how it happened. I received a letter, and they said, "Oh, we think the results of your test seems to show that you might have multiple sclerosis, but we're still not sure. We still need to do other tests. And then 7 days to the day of receiving that letter, I had what I now know is a relapse, which is where a relapse is basically when your immune system attacks your nerve cells. The myelin sheath is like a coating on your nerves, and that's what causes it causes all kinds of different disabilities in all kinds of different people. So so 7 days to the day, I'm having a relapse. I end up in hospital, and I don't leave hospital for about 4 months. And I remember in the first week, my neurologist comes through the door and says to me, well, we definitely know that it's probably MS, but there's one more thing we should check for. And I said, oh, so what should I hope for? And he said, definitely hope for MS. So I was just like, well, I don't know. I mean, from that moment, I always thought that the way my legs were throughout from the time I was 14 till 23, I had a lot of angst, a lot of anger in me, because I didn't know why this was happening to me. I try and be a good person. I try and live a good life, all of these things. But yet all of this crazy things was happening to me with no explanation. So I was very, very angry as a child. And right up until I was diagnosed. And for some reason, it was like, when he said to me, yes, we're pretty sure it's MS, it was like a weight was lifted from my shoulders, because it wasn't all in my head suddenly. It wasn't, I mean, all my friends, I used to take the mick out of myself with my friends and be like, oh, look, I can stand. It used to be so bad that I would stand up and I wouldn't even realize I was doing it, but I'd be swaying in a circle, because I had no center of gravity for balance, right? So I thought, oh yeah, I'm just being dumb. It's all in my head. I just need to remember how to walk again, then I'll be fine,
So prior to that, did you know anything about MS?
I had no idea about MS. I think I may have watched a documentary about it. I like to watch documentaries, so I remember seeing a documentary about it, and I remember in this documentary was an old woman, and it was describing stiffness and all these symptoms, and it was describing a lot of pain, but I couldn't quite I didn't quite relate the two things. And to be fair, before 2014, the relapse I had in 2014, I didn't experience any pain at all. It was only when my legs will buckle that might hurt a bit. But since that relapse, my legs are just, from my hips down, 24/7. It's just constant pain, which is fine. I've learned how to deal with it. I've learned how to manage it. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop me too much. But that, everything that happened at the point when I was told that yes, it's MS. Everything in my past just made more sense. Everything that happened, the fact that I would be walking and the tiniest pebble I can trip over, the tiniest crack in the road that anyone will just walk over, I would just trip over it for no reason. I just didn't understand.
So with EKOW, let me take you back a bit. With your diagnosis, for you, came as a form of relief, even though it wasn't what you were expecting or what you were hoping for.
No, yeah. I mean, with the diagnosis, it came with the fact that I was not going to be able to walk again in the foreseeable future.
How did it make you feel? I mean, as a 23-year-old handsome young man in the university, how did it make you feel at that point?
Right. I actually was surprised by my reaction. So
Okay. So,
he told me I was probably going to end up needing a wheelchair
mm,
for the foreseeable future, but there may be something, you know, the doctors always say maybe something can be done, you know, whatever. And at the moment he told me, I had a heavy heart because I said, oh, how am I going to, how am I going to life? How am I going to do anything? Um, it's like, I don't know whether I can handle the struggle that will come
mhm,
from what I've seen, either in media or, you know, elsewhere. I just didn't know if I was prepared for that situation. I
mhm,
always told myself that maybe if my legs keep getting worse, I might end up in a wheelchair, but that won't happen until I'm about 40 or 50 years old, probably. So I don't even have to think about it. So when it
mhm,
happened at 23, I was not ready for that
yeah.
until I was given a chair, a hospital chair,
Mhm.
and I was sat into that chair. And the very first time I pushed that chair, that was it. I was fine. I knew I'd be fine. I knew I'd be completely fine.
Yeah.
The way I can move in my chair,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying like this is just for me. Like I don't know why I'm able to move in my chair the way I am. I think it's because I've got very long arms, so like they help somehow. I don't know. Um, but the way I move in my chair makes me feel more independent and makes me feel more free. I don't feel like I need someone, like,
Yeah.
not to say that there's anything wrong with it if you do need it, but the fears that I was having before actually sat in the chair and actually pushed for the first time was completely dissolved by the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Eko, what has been your greatest support system?
it sounds cliche, but literally my family have been like, and the greatest thing about them is my parents, both my mom, my dad, and my sister.
Mhm.
The greatest thing about them is they refuse to treat me any differently
Okay.
when I was diagnosed. And sometimes this doesn't work for everyone. And again, this is just for me, but
Yeah.
for me, I think I would have struggled a lot more if everyone started treating me differently and everyone started, I don't know, babying me in a way, not to, you know, I don't know how else to describe it, but just
So
not
it is
allowing me to go through the struggle.
accepting a call for a call that nothing has changed. It is the same
Exactly,
son that we know,
exactly.
the same brother that we know. So they've moved away from having that kind of sympathy, treating you differently, and
Differently.
making you feel you cannot do things for yourself. So
Hmm.
yeah, so they formed something like a protective a protective covering, not protecting you, but in that same would be like a pillar of support to you to make you
Yes.
realize that you know what, Ekon, nothing has changed. You are still the
Yeah.
same boy that we know, and they were
Yeah.
there to support you.
They really were, and they helped with my confidence a lot. They helped me. You know, my sister would leave the house with me
Mhm.
just because I wanted to get used to using the chair. So I wanted to practice. So there was no reason for her to leave the house, but she would go on long walks with me just so, you know, I can get some exercise and I can um, use. I mean, like when I first got the chair, it was difficult. I'm not. I don't want it to sound like it was easy from the beginning. It was just not as hard as I thought it would be. So what I found myself having to do, sorry, is I found myself having to go out every morning or every afternoon whenever I had the energy to do it and just do laps around the hospital for as long as it took me. And then I'll time myself. And by the time I left hospital, by the time the 4 months were over, I was better. But it still wasn't, I was, you know, I was doing things quicker, but it still wasn't it still wasn't perfect. I still wasn't too confident. So my sister would literally just leave the house, come with me, just even help me cross random roads, you know,
Yeah.
just to walk with me, just to make sure I don't I don't hurt myself or whatever.
How did the diagnosis impact on your education?
So I actually left university before I was diagnosed.
Oh, okay.
I left university when.
You graduated before.
Sorry, no. I didn't graduate. I actually left.
Okay.
But like just left when I was, because basically I waited for too long to be assessed. So by the time I was assessed, it was in my third year, and I wouldn't have had enough time to actually complete. So I was told to leave the course, and then because no one knew that I had a learning disability, I will have the opportunity to go back. So for me, in my mind, it's on pause right now. It's just right now I'm trying other things. I'm trying other ways to sort of make money.
I was going to ask you that question. So how are you making it? How is
right,
life
so
now? What
right
are you
now,
doing? I know you are very busy, so talk to me through it.
right now I am literally just I'm still the level of a struggling artist. I perform whenever I can at open mics and stuff, but I also do some acting. I did a photo shoot over the weekend for up and coming company.
Yeah.
I've done some of my proudest things I've done is I was in a film. I took part in a film that made it to Netflix.
Okay. What's
I
the
took
title
part.
of that film?
It's called Been So Long.
Okay.
And I've done I can't even remember. I've done a music video, even I've done quite a few different things, and I'm just slowly building myself, because in the industry it is quite difficult. My girlfriend has been in it since she was 8 years old, and she's only just.
How long have you been together for?
Oh, we've been together for about a year and 2 months now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a she's a really lovely woman. She's really supportive. She's actually got MS as well. Yeah. And
How did you meet?
it was the most bizarre way. So I was working on a project, a campaign based on access in London, because the train access and underground access is just ridiculous in London for people with disabilities. So I was working on a campaign, and the lady that I was working with, he was actually a director in the film Been So Long. She took me to Manchester for it's called DANK. It's a disabled actors network community, and it's basically a community of disabled actors who come together, meet up with casting directors and stuff, and try and get disabled people more roles on TV, but not just as disabled people, just normal roles, but they just happen to be disabled, because I personally don't like the phrase disabled actor, but we're just actors. But yeah, so we went to this event, and we got lost looking for the entrance, and I happened across this really pretty woman in a wheelchair as well, and she was coming this way, I was going that way, and I just said hey, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. She asked me if I was gonna if I was going to the same event, and then we started talking until yeah, and then we don't, to be fair, we don't even know how we made up our anniversary date because we're not sure how we decided we were together. It just sort of it just happened miraculously, and it was the best thing to ever happen. So
yeah. So EKOW, aside family, what has been your greatest strength? How do you draw strength from to move on every day?
If I'm honest, it's pure stubbornness. I do not like to be defeated. I don't like losing. I don't like feeling like I've been defeated. So, I mean, sometimes I'll wake up exhausted and I would have done nothing the day before, but I'm still exhausted. But sometimes I have this little bit of strength somewhere where I can say, if I can, then I should just move and just go as far as I can until I can't anymore, you know? And that's basically what I do. I just sort of force myself to do what I can. And if I get up, for example, and I say I'm going to go for a jog or to go outside today, and I get up and I get ready. If by the time I've gotten ready, I'm feeling tired, then I might wait a bit, and then I'll get to my chair and I'll go outside. If I'm really tired by the time I get to the end of my road, then I'll come back. But if not, then I'll keep going until I do get tired. You know, it's just sort of testing how far I can push myself each time. Again, if every day is different. Some days I will be very busy, travel here, there, everywhere, and then come back home and I won't be able to function for about 7 days minimum. But then other times I'll be here, there, everywhere, and I'll be fine the next day, completely fine. Other days I will do nothing at all, relax the entire day, and still it's too much for me. I'll be too tired for the next few days. I don't know. It's just
go on.
No, I was just gonna say it's just about adapting to the way my symptoms are presenting themselves as and when. Yeah.
So will you say that you have learned how to live? You are now living with your MS. You have will you say you have mastered it?
Yes, I would definitely. Well, I wouldn't say mastered.
Right.
I would definitely say that I am managing it more than I'm controlling it more than it's controlling me. You know, because my legs will complain or
you are controlling it more than it's controlling you. I really like that statement.
Yeah, this is the way I've got to see it. I've got to, like, if it's a thing that I can't control and it the fact that it's there, then I can control the way it treats me or the way it makes me feel or the way I allow it to make me feel. So where I can, I'll just push myself and you know what? It's the way my parents raised me as well. Ghanaian parents, I know this. Like I'll tell my mom, I'm sick. I don't feel well today. I don't want to go to school. Do you think she'll listen to me? She's like, you still have to go to school. What do you mean? You're sick. Take tissues with you. If you've got a headache, take paracetamol. You know.
Yeah.
So that kind of, as a child, I was like, wow, they really don't care. They're so mean. They don't care. But they don't. It's not that they don't care. It's that they were teaching me that when you can push yourself, you have to, because otherwise, sitting around. What will I do? What am I doing sitting around all day? You know, what am I doing? Not having aspirations? Then I find it boring personally. I can't be the one who just sits there and decides that my life is over without trying. I have to try first. If I try everything and it's just not for me, nothing, you know, then what can I can only say that I tried, you know? But if I sit around not knowing, and the reason I say I didn't try is because I didn't know, that for me is unacceptable. I can't that can't be my story, I think.
So EKOW, how has your aspirations, how have you adopted your aspiration around where you are now?
How do you mean?
How have you adopted, how have your aspirations changed?
Well, okay. Well,
till now.
Well,
Has
so
it changed? Have you modified it?
yes, definitely, definitely. So my original plan in life was to go to university, do philosophy, do my master's, become a lecturer, my PhD, become a lecturer, just stay in education forever. That was my original plan.
Yeah.
When I ended up in a wheelchair, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have any ideas. When I was using the chair, someone told me about wheelchair racing. So that was an idea. So I started doing wheelchair racing for a while, training for about a year and a bit. Yeah, maybe just a year. At Lee Valley in Edmonton, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I realized that I can not only move quick in this chair, but I can move even quicker my quickest time was 19.9 seconds for the 100 meters. And at the time, the world record was about 17 seconds. So I really thought, I can make it. But unfortunately, the training stopped because the lady who was running the training, she's an Olympian, she's a Paralympian herself. So she went off to train for her own events, which is, and she's doing amazingly. Her name is Vanessa Wallace. She's doing amazingly. And then, but around that time, I came across it's like a showcase for para sports.
Right.
And I went over to this event and met a lady who introduced me to para rowing, which it was very difficult. I basically ended up on the development squad of the Great British team. Like I was being developed by them to do it, and I managed to get myself a gold medal in 2016 for the British Championships. So that and I liked rowing, but I didn't love it. My passions were still for wheelchair racing, and they still even are now. But then my sister said, okay, you should get into acting and modeling, because she decided she just
something that was within you, was it inherent?
So when I was younger, I used to act all the time. My sister and I play around all the time. I just decided that I was going to take the what would you call it, the educational route. I was just going to go straight down, and I sort of forgot about it. And then she sort of said, oh, well, I mean, you're not going to go back to uni just yet, so you might as well try it out. And I was very skeptical. She'll tell you, I was very skeptical. I didn't know if I should do it. I didn't know if I can do it. But then she started getting me like auditions, and she started helping me find jobs. She's the one who actually got me to do to be part of a music video, a techno music video. Yeah, she's pretty cool. She's helped me quite a lot, and she basically pushed me into it. I got myself an agent now, who she focuses mostly on disabled artists.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been loving it since. I've been really enjoying being on set. I've been really enjoying whether it's an advert, whether it's a scripted piece, I just really love the whole creation of a character and like the portrayal of it. It's just all very yeah, I don't know how to.
Yeah, so aside family, I mean, aside mom and dad and your sister, what other support do you get? Do you belong to any group? Does your GP offer you any support? Does the government give you any support? I mean, not with your care, but with your personal development.
So in terms of groups, I know there are many groups. There's you've got the MS Society. There's even one in North London, in Edmonton. I can't remember the name, but if I can remember, I'll give it to you. And there are communities and support groups like coffee meetings and stuff like that for people who have MS, and even just people with disabilities as well. I don't belong to any.
Why?
I'm a bit of I'm an internal person. If I feel like I need to deal with things, I am better off in a quiet room in my own thoughts than expressing myself. Like I can express myself after I have gone through my own work inside my mind and inside myself. But that's just, again, I'm my sister says I'm strange anyway. I wouldn't give that as an advice for a way for someone to handle stuff. Like people should definitely, if they feel like they are able to, they should definitely go to these groups, because even though I don't belong to any, I have been to them. I've done some talks as well at some, and it's awesome. It's awesome just to sit there, listen to other people's stories. It doesn't even have to be about necessarily MS or disability. Sometimes it's just nice to be in a room full of disabled people who understand that no one wants to talk about disability. Like we don't have to be constantly like, oh, like there isn't any passion. So sometimes, since I've been in the chair, I've noticed that sometimes you do come across people who try and be nice, and they're trying to be, respectful, but sometimes because they don't know how to act, it comes off a little bit patronizing. Like sometimes it's just nice to be around people who just understand. You don't have to explain yourself, and
so sometimes, how does it make you feel when you come across such situation, when someone genuinely wants to help you, but the person does not want to come across as if the person is patronizing you, and the person also doesn't want to come across as if they want to make you feel that you are not able to do stuff for yourself? How does it make you feel? Do you just tell the person that, oh, please don't worry, I'm fine, or be yourself? How does it make you feel?
So I'm not one to get offended easily. I am really, if someone asks, oh, can I grab that for you, I'll say, oh, no, I'm fine, thank you. I'll even make a joke, oh, I've got long arms, I can reach, like I'm very okay with people asking me, and people even asking me about the reasons I'm in a wheelchair or whatever. I really don't mind talking about it at all. I think the best way for people to understand is for, like, I understand that there are people who say, okay, I don't mind you calling me disabled, but then there'll be another person who says, never call me disabled, I hate that,
Yes.
So I think it's just about understanding who you're speaking to, and conveying your, and also understanding that the person you're speaking to isn't actually trying to offend you. They just genuinely do not know. I mean, sometimes you get unscrupulous people, but it's not, I don't find it to be any any problems at all. I sometimes I have found that like I've fallen out of my chair before because I'm racing around, and I do it all the time. It's fine. I've mastered getting myself back into my own chair. So as I'm getting myself in, someone will say, "Oh, can I help? Can I help?" And I
Yes.
think in their minds, they a disabled person couldn't possibly get himself back in his own chair. I have to help. So when I tell them I'm fine, they assume I'm being like rude or just defensive or something. But it's not. I genuinely am okay. I just, you know, yeah. I don't know. I find it. I'm very easygoing. I'm very like, I don't really mind.
Record, do you have any plans in future to organize something like a group, like a charity, a talk show for young people like yourself going through a similar situation?
So my sister and I have been talking about this, and I like I mentioned that I used to do talks at schools and certain events. I've been thinking of getting back into doing it. At the moment with COVID, obviously, everything's a bit in the air. But I definitely, in the future, I definitely do want, once I have myself situated and I've got myself, you know, established a little bit, I definitely will start. I mean, one of the things I'm really passionate about, apart from MS, is the care / training people receive when they are first in wheelchairs. So my experience when I first ended up in a wheelchair, I was given, my physiotherapist will lay out some cones, and they'll teach me, this is how you go left, this is how you go right, this is how you go straight, this is how you go back, right? That's all they teach you. They teach you how to, mind your surroundings and all of this. But all of this is indoors. What they don't do is take you outside. What they don't teach you is when you're going down the road, you might be on a road that slants right, so you're going to have to use one hand more than the other hand, and you're going to find it really difficult. Or you're going to have to use, there's so many variations, the dips in the roads, the textures of the roads, how difficult it is to push on, all of those things. So when I was going around the hospital, I even took my friend with me. He was a gentleman in the bed across from me, who he was an amputee, so he just received a wheelchair as well. And I used to drag him out with me and say, "Come on, we can do this. We can do this. We can make it, and we'll make the journey." And by the end of it, he even told me that before he was scared to leave hospital because he didn't know how he was going to manage outside in a wheelchair and how he was going to push himself. He didn't think he was strong enough.
Yeah.
But
so for you, even from the onset, even before you came out of the hospital, you had already started giving people hope, and you were already, being a motivation and inspiration to people around you.
Well, I mean, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just really liked him, and he was a really nice guy. And I didn't want, because I had the same fears he had. We would speak about it, and he would tell me how he doesn't know how he'll get out. He doesn't know if he's got, his friends will come and push him around when he needs it, and so I said, well, let's both just try and become independent, like before we even have to, like in hospital we don't have to do much, we're just, but let's just try, I suppose. And and he was I mean, ironically enough, by the time he left hospital, he received his own leg. He received a replaced I can't remember what you called them.
The replacement leg, you mean?
Yeah, so he didn't even need to use the wheelchair. But so I mean, so one of my most biggest things is I want to have, I don't know whether it's to create a system that works with the NHS or or something, where people can go, or where people who have been diagnosed with paralysis, paraplegia, anything like that, and now need to use a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, and even automatic wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs, just give them a space so they can learn, they can really feel what it will be like.
The real life outside.
Exactly. Because what I find is people are taught to use the cones in the hospital. They think they've got it, they think they're fine, until they reach outside, and then they find it really difficult. They're shocked by how difficult it is. And they regress, and they stay indoors, and that's how that happens, I think. So yeah, that's something that I'd really like to.
Okay, cool. We are rounding up, and my last one question: what will you tell someone who has just been diagnosed, who's just received a diagnosis?
I would say to them, don't look online, for one, because online it's not that the information is wrong, it's just something like multiple sclerosis, for example, any autoimmune disease, the symptoms tends to be very different for everyone, because it affects your nerves, and it can affect your nerves in all types of different ways. Don't try. One of the biggest things, or the biggest traps of being diagnosed with something like this, is being lost in all the medical technicalities of everything. You start counting down your own clock for no reason. I remember reading that, if it's 10 years since someone has their first symptoms of MS, then they are so much more likely to become secondary progressive, which is another stage. And for like the last 5 years or 4 years, I was very aware of this. I was like, I was calculating. I realized, but if when I was 24, that means I was 10 years already. So that when is this going to happen? And I started losing myself. But no, you need to just take it day by day. Literally learn to listen to your body, learn to eat. I'd say eating properly, I'm not saying is a cure, but it gives your body the energy it needs to fight against things. Like, make sure you feed yourself properly, and just like take every day as it comes, and don't lie to yourself. Don't I want to say this, like, trying to be as tactful, if that's the word, but don't let yourself become lazy, because once you let your mind start saying, that's it, I'm done, that's when your body starts following. That's really when your body starts following and says, okay, well, if your mind is done, then we'll just let things happen the way it will. Like, I think as long as you keep as active as you can in whatever way, even if it means your symptoms means that you struggle to leave your house every day, leave your house one time for 5 minutes, even if that's all you can do, just do it, and then come home and then sleep for as long as you need to, it will, I believe it will keep you going. I believe it will keep you mentally strong, and whatever part of your body still allows you to be strong as well,
Okay, so this is your advice that you give it to someone, a young person, like, well. So what will you tell a parent who has just received a diagnosis of son? How do you think your mom and your mom and dad, how do you think they went through it? What will you tell them?
I think it's a matter of being stronger for your child than they have to be for themselves. I think it's every parent has fears. Like, obviously I saw my parents upset when I was diagnosed, and especially my dad, it hit him hard. But they didn't show me. I might catch one glimpse, you know, maybe he won't want to talk about a certain thing, but they won't really show me, and they kept themselves strong. And I'm not saying everyone can, I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but if you can, just try be stronger for your child than they need to be for themselves. Whenever they're doubting themselves, reassure them that they can, even if it sounds like, but I don't mean in a forceful way. So actually there's two things. There's being stronger for them, but there's also understanding.
Okay.
Understanding is super important, because I've heard so many times, not necessarily from parents, but a friend will say, oh, well, I saw this disabled person do this. Why can't you do that? Oh, well, I heard this person with MS has this symptom. How come your symptom is this? Everyone is different. Everyone's strengths, first of all, the way it affects everyone is different. Second of all, the strength that everyone has to deal with the situation is very, very different. My girlfriend can't use her hands. She, to me, is the strongest person I have ever met in my life. Like, because I don't know how I would handle that situation, because it's not happened to me, right? And in that same way, for parents, they won't understand how the child feels. So if a child says, I'm feeling this way, don't say, oh, you're being silly. Oh, don't worry, you'll be fine. Talk them through it. Explain to them why they'll be fine. Explain to them how, like, you know, even if you have to make up, like, you know, like sometimes you'll say, oh yeah, but you'll one day you'll be a president, for example. Like, not in a patronizing way, but like, why can you not? That's the biggest question that my dad always asks me, is why can you not? Because if you, for example, you say, oh yeah, but it's fine, you can still be the president. I said, oh no, but I can't. And I say, oh, and he will say, why can you not? I'll say, yeah, but I'm in a wheelchair. You will say, so they'll have ramp. You know, it's that kind of thing. Just exercise their ability to think about their situation differently, whilst because it's going to be something the parent needs to do for themselves. They're going to need to find a cathartic way to, like, deal with their situation they found their children in, right? So I reckon thinking of things that way will help more than just, you know, oh no, my child is sick, I have to treat him special, like, you know, this way and that way, and make sure no one puts him in a bubble, and make sure no one touches him, you know. Sometimes that's more damaging. But again, everyone's situation is different. I don't want to say that I'm speaking for everyone, you know?
Yeah. Okay, EKOW, your last words. Your last words.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My last words would be, I don't know, just things aren't always as hard as you think they will be. When I was diagnosed, I thought things would be impossible. As the years go by, I'm realizing how wrong I was. So things are never as bad as you think they'll be. Your imagination is far greater than reality is, you know? I think that would be my last.
Oh God, you've got me teary. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah. You see, I have a son, my 8-year-old son, autistic, right?
Okay.
And then when he first got diagnosed, he was about 5 years when we started noticing the symptoms when he was about 5.
Okay.
And he was diagnosed at 6.
Okay.
It's so hard.
I can
because
imagine.
it was something I was not ready to accept. And a lot of the questions that I have asked myself over the years, you have just said in a minute. That's the reason why I am so teary now. You have you have just answered that question in a minute. That what we think about is not as bad as we think it is. And then as parents, when your child presents a challenge to you,
Mm-hmm.
You should not just brush them off. Just give them the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't he? And then one of the things that you have just said is that don't keep them in a bubble. Don't treat them as if they are different from any other child or any other loved one. They are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hit me so hard. Thank you so much, EKOW, for coming. And I'm sure
I'm really glad I can help.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot more. I mean, what you have done today is not just for yourself or any young person going through MS. It is also
No.
for parents going through different kinds of challenges with their children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you have shared with us tonight, it is very collective and it is relatable to a lot of challenges, diagnoses that people go through in aspects of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for being so brave, for coming and sharing your story with us, and then
thank you for having me.
Yeah, this, I mean, wisdom, such wise words coming from you. Thank you so very much, EKOW.
No, and you're very welcome.
I'm not sure, but if the podcast goes out and people ask for a second, we will come back for a second.
Yes, for sure. I'll be very happy to do that. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you so very much for coming.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Then.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.